Well, it's been such an incredible year for Ultima. I can't believe it's only a year since we shot the power of Carp. It's really been a fantastic experience and has helped us in the development of not only existing products but new exciting products, and that's also come from the involvement of the existing team of consultants and some of the great new names that have joined us, like Mark Hutchinson, who's helped with the development of Power Carp XR, Lee Jackson, of course, who needs no introduction. The one thing that stands out that people are hungry for knowledge about rig design, that they want to know more. So we're very fortunate to have one of the leading exponents of rig design on the team in Steve Renyard. We have the expert here who is able to demonstrate that. He's been shooting various bits of DVD around on some of our test days. Therefore, the concepts now come together that we should put these together in one DVD.
Rigs and terminal tackle is one of the most important parts of carp fishing. Everybody wants to know how to tie the most effective rigs and the best way to present their baits. One of the best in the business is Ultima consultant Steve Renyard. Let's go and have a word with him about the importance of carp rigs. Hello mate, how you doing?
Hello Pete.
Tying something up?
Yeah, just having a little play around, like I always do, sit here playing with rigs. That's, you know, it's always been an interest of mine, as you know.
Well, it's something we're all passionate about rigs. I think you have to be with carp fishing, but you've sort of developed a name for it. It's really interesting for me that your passion to sit and develop some of the things that you've developed. Just how many hours do you spend doing it?
I mean, I would say, you know, I mean, it all started from, you know, the early 80s when I started carp angling, and we used to use very, very basic things. There was no knowledge about, we didn't have the likes of DVDs and you know, magazines. We had to literally, it was word of mouth, or you had to trial and error and make things. So it stemmed from, you know, probably I'd say once I got into like the Wivy era. I went up to Wivy Pool in 1987, that's when I met you.
True.
We were using the bent hook rig then, you know, which is a lot of rigs have actually been developed on top of that to, you know, to simulate the same sort of effect that the bent hook rig had. And that's where the Wivy came from. And as the years have gone on, products have been developed. I've been fortunate enough to be involved with, you know, companies like Ultima, where we're developing products, and the interest is always going to be there. I mean, you know, if you break down the mechanics of a rig, there's not one particular rig that's brilliant on all lakes.
Absolutely.
So this is why we've tried to, you know, compile a list of the best rigs that I can come up with for different scenarios, different feeding scenarios. Not all lakes are the same. You might go down to your average day ticket water, there's 1,000 small carp in there, where a basic rig would suffice and you're going to catch. But then we're talking about scenarios where a fish has got to swim 20 acres, find your rig, and if it's doing your rig, you're wasting your time. So, you know, that's what we're trying to put across on this DVD. So it's for everybody. It's not just a beginner. It's not your intermediate angler. It's for everybody. You know, these are rigs, even the sort of the top guys fishing, you know, like things like the Hermit rig and the Wivy Pool rig. Those are the sort of rigs that you're going to catch a lot of big fish on, and they will outwit the big fish. If you haven't got a sharp hook, all these rigs are null and void.
Absolutely.
So there's lots of little different scenarios that go along with rigs, but it's trying to put across on this DVD where best to use certain rigs, when not to use certain rigs, and you know, keep it simple unless you have to, unless you need to make it more difficult and use a more difficult rig.
And give the angler an edge.
And having an edge, and that's what it's about. You are competing with human beings. That's what you're competing with, let alone the carp.
Yeah.
You know, that's hard enough, the carp, but you know, it's just having that edge over the guy sat next door to you, and that's kind of where it's always been interesting for me. Bringing the changes, that's what rigs are about. Okay, this rig, slightly different. You've all heard of the Wivy Pool rig, no doubt. Most of you have anyway. It's something I came up with a long, long time ago. This one, it's the same principle as the Wivy Pool rig, using the Hyperlink Pro. This is a braided material with 100% fluorocarbon flowing through the inner core. Once you've steamed it, it'll go stiff. It doesn't break like the coated braids do. It's just very, very manageable material. I've just devised a rig, but just using without the tubing. So if you want to water that, you know, where they are gin clear water, the less they can see, the better it is. Basically, what we're going to do, start off, you've got taken off a length of probably 12 inches of the Hyperlink Pro. We're going to do quite a good little knot. I learnt this knot off the internet actually. Just a little overhand loop or a granny knot. Take the end through, and then pull the knot down so it's small, but you still need to feed the end back through. So you've got a little tiny hole. You're going to take the Hyperlink Pro round once, twice, 3 times, and then back through the loop that we first tied. And it's quite a simple knot, but if you're doing loops, it's just a perfect knot. Always try and wet it down. It's a really strong knot, and it just makes everything sit perfectly as a loop, as you can see there. So you just cut off the tag end. So effectively, all you've got is a nice loop to the end of the Hyperlink Pro. And the clever part, and this is what makes the tubeless withy what it is because it's doubled up there, we're going to put this through the back of the eye of the hook. You need to squeeze the ends together, just so it goes through. And as you can see, just through the back of the eye like that. And then take the hook just like so. So you've got no knots to the actual eye. It's just looped over. And that's all part of. You'll see in a little bit what I mean by the withy part, because we're going to steam it into the nice sort of semicircle, and then open up the Hyperlink Pro in there and give ourselves a flexi part. And that's the beauty of this material. At the moment, that's sitting like that, but once we've steamed it and we've held it straight, it will sit parallel. They'll run parallel with each other. Literally, all you're doing, taking an oval ring, put it onto your hook, one of the little Nash teardrop stops, put that onto your hook, and then stop it around parallel with the point of the hook, or just a little bit above it. This is how easy this rig is to tie. And people think that the withy rig is a really difficult rig to tie. It's actually not. It's really, I mean, I can tie them in about a minute. So, you know, sat at home, you're probably 20 minutes, you've got, you know, 15 rigs tied, give or take. So all we're going to do now is take the Hyperlink Pro and fold it below the knot, because what we're going to do is feed out the fluorocarbon. You've got to squeeze the material together, because you're trying to get out fluorocarbon out of the end of the out the side of the braid. And I don't know if you can see that, but that literally, there's a little tiny piece of the fluorocarbon folded over what I've bent over, and all I'm going to do is snip that. And now we've got a flexible part, as you can see. And that's the real key element to this material, is that you can do that anywhere along the hook link, so you can create whatever sort of rigs you want. But for the withy, we're just going to have, all we need is that little bit there that we're going to put the shot down and curve it with a kettle. Right, we're just going to show you how to steam the tubeless withy. I'm going to be using, just for, you know, safety purposes, you know, you've got young kids and you are working with a boiling kettle. So what I'm using, solar rig cone, and just hold that over the steam. You can see that's nice and safe. And the fluorocarbon inside the Hyperlink Pro will now be starting to stiffen up. And that's all you need. The key part of this, don't rush and take that off as soon as you've taken it away from the kettle. Leave it for about 20 seconds, and then that will it'll cool down itself, and the fluorocarbon will stay in the shape that's required. So you can get the hook out, and basically what you've got, I'll turn that kettle down now, there's a lovely little curve. You can set this however you want it. It doesn't have to be as long as that. If you like a rig to be closer to the ground, closer to the bottom, you can do a shorter loop knot. You just got to play about and see how it goes. And then basically all we're going to do now, put the bait on and cast that out. That's literally ready to go. And that, as you can see, just by the curve, you see how that grips hold of my finger. So the carp, if they come in from any direction, if they're touching, it touches the bottom lip, it'll sit on the bottom lip and grip. And that's what the curve's about. It's just a very difficult rig for carp to deal with. And like I say, it's less obtrusive than using shrink tube. And obviously, it's cheaper as well for you guys. So what I'll do is I'll show you how to put a bait on in a different way now. We're using the Nash bait floss. You're going to do an overhand loop and then a loop behind it, and then just go through the loop twice. So you've created kind of a slip knot. Take your boilie. This is the fiddly part. Put your boilie in the centre of the ring. It's the ring of the bait floss, if you like. And then just ease it down. And then all you're doing is pulling it on really tight. And what you'll find is that you'll have one end that is really fixed. The other one will still slip. So it's that one you need to get hold of, chop off the tag end that slips. And I normally just give it a tiny little blob, just to stop it in case it does want to slip. And one of the key parts of the wivvy rig is using an oval ring, and when you tie the knot to one side, and I'll show you why. If I tie it up to start with, like I'm right in the centre of the oval part, the hook will not sit properly. It's just the percentage. If you can see that now, the hook's sitting slightly at an angle because the ring, if you can see through there, the ring is sat at a funny angle. So all I'm going to do is just slide the knot over to one side, pull it nice and tight, chop off the end again, blob down the end, and then you'll see now that that is sat perfectly. You see how the ring's sat? It's just sat, and the rig just sits much better. All you've got to do then, put on your split shot. You can put that straight onto the Hyperlink Pro because it's a tough material. If required, a little bit of putty, and that's the finished rig. And I've caught a lot of fish, especially abroad on this. This has caught a lot of fish using the wivvy without the tubing. It's just a very effective rig. And that's as simple as that to make. It's very, very easy. And once you've made a few and you've got used to steaming it in the right place, you'll see how effective it is. And that is the finished thing. And it does exactly what it's supposed to do, catch carp. This is a rig that's been designed by my best mate, Dave Fuidge. Very forward-thinking angler. He just wanted a rig that he could adjust the hair on and manipulate the hook up and down the hook link. So if he wanted to fish 2 baits, 1 bait, without making new rigs, I'm not a great fan of like the stick mixes, but a lot of people are. And you could get this actually incorporated into the hair rather than actually down above the hook. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to show you that. We're taking the Hyper Silk. You can actually use like the Hyperlink Pro, which is the stiff material, but just for ease of illustration, we're going to use Hyper Silk, which is a normal braid. So you take off length of braid again, about 12 inches, a little tiny oval ring, and you're literally going to secure the ring onto the Hyper Silk. 5-tone grinner knot. 2, 3, 4, 5. slide that up, lick that down, and then put the ring through a baiting needle just so you get a nice secure knot, really secure. Because when you're playing the fish, all the pressure is going to be down on this little ring. You'll see why. It'll unfold as we go further down with the rig. So basically, what we've got is just a length of braid, as simple as that, with an oval ring attached to it. And that's what we're going to attach the bait to. The good thing with this rig, you can use whatever hook you want. The fang twisters, because I like the way that the angle of the eye, just to give it that little bit of extra flip and turn. Take about 3/4 of an inch silicone tube. Make sure you spit down the tubing. We're going to take a splicing needle and just thread it on. It's quite simple. Thread it onto the splicing needle, just like so. Just so you've got it past the gate. There's a little gate on these splicing needles that will close once we're going to put it onto the hook link. So we take your hook link material and put your hook on. There's no knots, like I say. That's the whole idea of it. So you're going to put the braid through the back of the hook, the back of the eye, and that's basically, it's just going to hang there like so. And then the clever part, now thread back on the silicone tubing onto the hook link, slide it down in place. This is where it could get a little bit fiddly. It's just getting it over the eye of the hook. But if you take hold of the ring swivel in one hand, the straight part of the hook, and hold it nice and tight, it's quite easy to thread on. And you can literally manipulate the hair to whatever position you want once you've actually got this silicone over the eye. And that's it done. And like I say, you can adjust, if you want to fish single bait, double bait, you can adjust the hair to whatever you want to put on there. And when you're actually playing the fish, that pulls down to the it slides the silicone back down, pulls down to the eye, and you're playing the fish on that. Just to attach the bait, I mean, you guys will use whatever you deem necessary, or whatever type of bait you're fishing with this type of rig. If we take some bait floss, put an overhand loop in the end, just so you can attach either a boilie or pieces of corn, a stick mix. You know, I mean, you could put a stick mix right the way up through the oval ring, but I just think that would give the hair, would make the hair just too long. So you can either put a single boilie on that, tie it straight on there. You've got a basic sort of rig, but adjustable. So if you want to put 2 baits on, you can put 2 baits on. Or take a stick mix, put it on sideways. Go through the bag sideways. Make sure the gate is closed. Just like so. Take your boilie, put your boilie on as well. If you got really clever, you could actually put your boilie through the centre of the stick mix and have that in the centre. But just for, you know, this sort of purpose, I'll show you what we're going to do. Secure it with your boilie stop. And as you can see, what you've got is just basically your bottom bait, probably with a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch hair, and then secure it to the oval ring. I would do 2 knots on this, and the second knot, double it over. Double your knot over, just so it doesn't slip. And that's it, nice and secure. And then slide your hook down to the ring, and you've got quite a nice little presentation with a stick mix round it. And like I say, I'm just showing this for illustration purposes. I don't know whether Dave, this is Dave's little rig anyway, I don't know whether Dave has done that sort of thing. He probably has. But that's, you know, you've got a nice anti-tangle rig. You've got a bit of stick mix, a bit of attraction around your hook bait. That will sit on the bottom really nicely. Once that's broken up, you've got your boilie sat amongst a lot of well, there's not a lot of food there, but a lot of attraction. And that basically is the sliding hook rig, which is quite natty. And as I say, you can use that with the Hyperlink Pro. So if you want a slightly stiffer material and just have that part, you know, you can use it with a double bait, single bait, whatever you want, triple bait even, you know. But the beauty of that is that you can put on whatever you want onto it, and it's adjustable. And once that's dissolved, you hook the fish, that slides down to the knot, and then, you know, you're into a very secure, hopefully a very secure hook hold and a nice fish for the album. And that's Dave Fuage's rig.
So talking about main lines, Lee, you've been with us for getting on for a year now.
Getting on for a year, yeah.
And you started off using Power Carp,
Yeah, well,
carbon coated.
Undoubtedly, I mean, Power Carp is Ultima's flagship product, really. You know, there's a lot of anglers out there don't like clear lines. It's a psychological thing, but they just don't like it because it's clear. So it was my idea initially that Ultima we bring out Power Carp in a different colour. And I mean, not only have they brought it out in a different colour, they brought it out in what's called what do they call it, Stephen?
Distressed camo.
Distressed camo.
Distressed
so
camo,
got
yeah,
even better. I mean, undoubtedly, I mean, Power Carp has really sort of taken the market by storm. A top quality fishing line in every conceivable thing, you know, every conceivable way. But the Power Carp Ultra is basically got the same characteristics as we all know as an existing Power Carp. But what dyeing it has actually done is actually made it smoother, so therefore you can cast a little bit further than the existing Power Carp with it. And like for people who don't like clear lines, that's the one.
Yeah, well, it just blends into the background. I mean, for me, I'd love Power Carp and what it does. 18% stretch. Yeah. It's abrasive resistant. It's got everything, and it casts beyond belief. But like you say, I never thought of it before, but using a green light, it's given me more confidence.
Yeah.
I've been using it over the whole sort of latter part of the summer,